Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always.
Today, we're stepping back in time, back to Elizabethan England.
Ooh, a favorite era.
It is, it is. We're talking opulent courts and political intrigue, and of course, Queen Elizabeth III herself.
An iconic figure.
Now, picture this. You're married to the Queen's favorite. The man everyone whispers is the one who truly holds her heart. That's where our story starts.
Sounds juicy. Who we're talking about?
Amy Robsart, wife of Robert Dudley.
Oh, this is going to be good. A story full of love, ambition, and a death that has puzzled historians for centuries.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We've got historical accounts, artistic interpretations,
Even a coroner's report.
a recently surfaced one. We're going to try and piece together the life of a woman who's often overshadowed by all the drama going on around her.
I'm intrigued already. Let's start at the beginning. Where does Amy's story begin?
Well, she wasn't born a noble, but her family. They were far from ordinary.
Oh, how so?
They were wealthy. I mean, really wealthy. Vast estates.
Okay, I'm picturing rolling fields.
And get this, over 3,000 sheep.
3,000. That's a flock and a half. Back then, that's serious wealth.
Right. Sheep were a big deal. That much wool. They were power players.
Absolutely. They'd be considered landed gentry, for sure. Must have given Amy a very comfortable upbringing.
It did. And that comfortable upbringing, that social standing, it all led her to a marriage that changed everything.
Here comes the drama. Who did she marry?
Robert Dudley, son of an earl,
Whoa, talk about a step up the social ladder.
a match made in. No, maybe not heaven. Things get complicated.
I bet.
And their meeting, not exactly a fairy tale, it happened during a peasant rebellion.
Not the most romantic setting.
Right. But a year later, married.
So, a love match then?
A true love match.
Yeah.
A bit scandalous for the time.
Why scandalous? Was it the age difference?
Not the age. See, sources call it a carnal marriage.
Carnal marriage. That does have a certain ring to it. I mean, it implies something a little different than just, a marriage of convenience.
Exactly. Passion, mutual attraction, defying the norms, because back then, marriages were usually about politics or money.
So, Robert really was smitten with Amy.
It seems so. Their early married life, idyllic. Comfort, influence, thanks to Robert's powerful father. They had it all.
Until they didn't.
But fate, right. King Edward VI dies, and everything changes.
Oh, yes. The political landscape shifts dramatically. What happens to the Dudleys?
Well, Robert's father backed Lady Jane Grey's claim to the throne.
The 9-day queen. Poor girl.
Right. But when Mary took the throne, she saw the Dudleys as traitors.
Yikes. That's not good. What happened to Robert?
Imprisoned in the Tower of London, along with his father and brothers.
The tower? And what about Amy? While all this is happening, where is she?
Fear and uncertainty, I'd imagine. Her husband facing execution. Their whole world turned upside down.
A far cry from that idyllic life they had.
And it's during this time, this period of hardship, that Robert's bond with another important figure is strengthened. Elizabeth.
Ah, yes. They had both been imprisoned in the tower, hadn't they?
They had shared that experience. And when Elizabeth becomes queen, Robert, he's her favorite.
And that's where the real drama starts, doesn't it? I mean, that position.
Okay.
So close to the queen, all those rumors.
Exactly. Some say romance, some say just a deep friendship forged in those tough times.
But what about Amy? Is she at Robert's side as he navigates this new world of courtly intrigue?
Not quite. While Robert is thriving at court, Amy, she's mostly absent, stays at their country estate.
Makes you wonder what was going through her mind.
You can just imagine the whispers. Her husband, the most talked about man in England, always with the queen, and she's elsewhere.
It's easy to look back and think jealousy, resentment, but back then things were different. Separation was common, especially for their social standing.
You're right. We can't apply modern ideas to the past. But then things shift again. Amy moves to come to her place, a grand estate.
Interesting. Why the move?
It's fueled speculation. Was it Robert, wanting to distance her from the court? Or was it Amy, seeking a quieter life, away from the spotlight?
Or maybe a bit of both. Amy finding her own space while Robert navigates the, shall we say, complexities of Elizabeth's court.
Whatever the reason, Cumnor Place becomes the setting for a pivotal moment. A mystery that has captivated us for centuries.
Oh, this is it, isn't it? The mystery of Amy Robsart's death.
September 8th, 1560. Amy is found dead at the bottom of a staircase.
And so the questions begin. Accident? Suicide? Or something more sinister?
Was Amy a victim of circumstance? Or did someone want her gone? We're going to unpack it all right after this.
All right, let's dig into these theories. For centuries, all fingers have pointed at Robert Dudley.
Can you blame them? I mean, he had motive, right? Ambition, a possible desire to be with the queen.
And Amy's death, well, if it was murder, it would have cleared the path, wouldn't it?
Exactly. It's like something straight out of a play.
Oh, absolutely. And don't forget Robert's enemies. They would pounce on this. Imagine the scandal.
What would have been devastating for Robert? His reputation, his chances with the queen, gone.
So maybe someone was framing him, using Amy's death as a weapon.
Possible. But if not Robert, then who? Anyone else benefit from her death?
Well, there's always William Cecil, powerful advisor to the Queen, a known rival of Robert's.
Right. Cecil might have seen it as a chance to take Robert down. A power play, pure and simple.
Exactly. But let's not forget the other big theory, suicide.
Right. What evidence points to that?
Whispers of Amy being isolated, unhappy in her marriage.
It's easy to imagine. Her husband at court, constantly by the queen's side, and she's alone.
And then there's her maid. She hinted that Amy might have had suicidal thoughts.
Wow, that's chilling. But we have to be careful here. We're talking about a different time, a different understanding of, well, mental health.
Absolutely. Women's choices, their agency, it was also different back then. We can't just impose our modern views.
It's a good reminder to be sensitive to the historical context. So we've got these two main theories, murder and suicide. For centuries, they were the only ones.
Until 2008.
Ah, yes, the game changer, the coroner's report.
Lost for ages, and then boom,
Yeah.
it resurfaces, and it completely changes the game.
It does. Because for years, the thought was that Amy's injuries, way too severe for a simple fall. But the report, it tells a different story.
A first-hand account from the time. And it states, Amy's injuries. They were consistent with a fall down the stairs.
A fall. So maybe it was an accident after all.
It definitely adds weight to that theory.
Yeah.
Challenges all those assumptions about foul play.
It's amazing how one document can completely shift our understanding of history. But wait, there's more. We've got Professor Ian Aird.
Aird studied the evidence, and he had a new theory, breast cancer.
Breast cancer. How does that fit in?
He suggested that it could have weakened Amy's spine, made her more susceptible to a fatal fall, even from a short distance.
So maybe a pre-existing medical condition was a factor. Wow.
It adds a whole other dimension to the story. Reminds us that historical figures, they weren't just characters in a drama. They were real people with real health issues.
It's easy to forget that sometimes. So now what? We've got a coroner's report pointing to an accident, a medical theory suggesting a pre-existing condition, and centuries of speculation about murder and suicide. It's almost like the more we learn, the more complicated it gets.
That's the beauty of history, isn't it? It keeps us guessing. It's not always neat and tidy with clear answers. And that ambiguity, it forces us to think critically, to question what we think we know.
It's amazing, right? Even with this new evidence, Amy's story, it just keeps evolving.
Yeah.
Takes on a life of its own.
It really does. And what's interesting is the intensity of the interest in Amy's story, well, it fluctuated over time. It wasn't this immediate sensation, you know.
So when did it really take off?
The 19th century, that's when the public really became fascinated by Amy's life, her death, the whole mystery.
Why then? What happened?
Sir Walter Scott. In 1821, he published his novel Kenilworth.
Kenilworth.
Yeah, and he basically takes Amy's story and weaves it into this tale of romance, courtly intrigue, you know the drill, and of course, murder.
So Amy Robsart becomes this literary figure, a character in a best-selling novel.
Exactly. And it captured the imagination of, well, everyone back then. Victorian England was hooked.
So how did Scott portray Amy?
As this tragic figure, innocent, beautiful, caught up in the dangerous world of the Elizabethan court. He really played up the drama, the isolation, Robert's ambition, the shadow of Queen Elizabeth.
It's incredible how fiction can shape our understanding of history, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Scott's novel, it wasn't a straight historical account, of course, but it had this huge impact on how people saw Amy, and not just readers. The art world was influenced too.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Artists started portraying Amy, lots of wistful, melancholic paintings, her gazing towards the future, all uncertain.
She became this romantic icon.
In a way, they were giving her a voice again, taking her story back from the history books, the political scandals, all that.
Humanizing her.
Exactly, making her real, making her relatable.
It reminds us that history is full of these individual lives, each one with its own joys, its own heartbreaks.
And we may never know exactly what happened to Amy Robsart, but that's part of the reason we're still so fascinated by her, isn't it?
It is. It's a story about love, ambition, the things that make us human.
And the fact that we can still debate her story, come up with new theories, it means she'll never be forgotten.
Every generation finds something new in her story, asking those same questions.
So what do you think? What can we learn from Amy Robsart all these centuries later?
I think, for me, it's a reminder to question everything. Look
Mhm.
beyond the surface. Think about the human cost of ambition, of power struggles.
Yes. And to have empathy. To think about the people whose voices get lost in history.
And to remember that history, it's not just facts and dates. It's about people. Real people with real lives.
And sometimes the most captivating stories, they're the ones without easy answers. Amy's story, it challenges us, makes us realize that there can be multiple truths, different perspectives.
We may never know the full truth,
Yeah.
but that's okay. That mystery, it keeps your story alive. It sparks our curiosity, keeps us asking questions.
And that's what history should do, right? Make us think, make us wonder, make us keep digging deeper.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going. We'll be back soon with another journey into the past. Thanks for joining us.